morning, everyone. If you could kind of put your camera on, that would be great. Since the thing with online presentation is kind of have people, so it would be lovely to hear your uh, you could go either on your phone or on your computer, just go to Angie.com and you could that number is 892. I'd like to get to know people in the call as opposed to me having a dialogue for like an hour. So that would be great if you do that.
It's a bit more clearer now.
Thank you. Sorry about that. No, I was just saying if you could go to menti.com and use that code to participate in this kind of mini quiz before we start. Because
Okay.
I'd love to get to know people in the call as well, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's interesting to see that no matter where you are in the world, we all want to do the same thing given the lockdown restrictions in place right now. So that's nice to see. I'll wait until we have at least a few more participants before I move on. Cool. Then we can move on to the next question. I'm gonna skip the next one given the time, but I haven't introduced myself other than what Artaya and team introduced me. But I'd like to do a bit of a quick kind of quiz. At my work site, how many percentage of women do you think they are in terms of female representation? So we all know that in STEM, especially in engineering, we are lacking the female kind of representation on site. It's very male dominated, and it's quite apparent from early on when I started university, where there's literally, I think, less than 10% of female on site. So someone got that right there. So in my previous work site where I work, on-site, which I'm not going to share yet. There is only in the UK, and I think it's worse if you go to countries like Africa or Asia. We only have 3% of female on-site, so that kind of gives you a flavor of the industry that I'm working in. The next question is, how do I commute to work? So I know in Jakarta, we normally tend to commute to work with cars. Any guess? Yeah, public transport, good guess. Yeah, interesting. So the right question there is, I commute by helicopter actually. So what I'm gonna share with you today is my previous role that I've been doing for 3.5 years, where I work offshore. And to get to my work site, I have to go by helicopter because it's a platform in the middle of the North Sea. So I hope that gives you a bit of a flavor of, of what I'm gonna show you today. But before I start, I guess to take a bit of a step back to introduce myself. I'm gonna share a different screen now. I hope that shows the PowerPoint. So that is a picture from 10 years ago. That's me and my batch. I graduated from BINUS in 2011. Lovely batch that I grew up with. I joined BINUS actually in middle school, so grade 7, and then studied there for 6 years. And yeah, it's just such a privilege to be able to grow up with this wonderful bunch, and I'm also forever thankful to all the teachers that I've come across, and I think I saw a couple in this call. So there's Pak Daru, Miss Malord, and Miss Marilyn is in this call. So yeah, it's lovely. And I guess the key takeaway here is, halo Pak.
Halo, apa kabar? It's good to hear you from.
Baik. Pakai kamera dong Pak, nggak kamera. I guess the key takeaway here is, I think we can all be honest with ourselves that if you're able to go to BINUS, we are in a privileged position, yeah, di Indonesia, and there is a good chance that you're probably gonna go abroad. And I think the key message here is to use to acknowledge that privilege. We're in a privileged position. We can afford this goal, you know, and get a really good education, and really make the most out of it. Out of the education that you get, and really push yourself to see where you can go with that. And I think for those of you in DP years, where you have a couple of years left, really think about what you would like to do. Maybe it's STEM, maybe it's not STEM. I think for me, it was quite confusing at first. Between grade 10, 11, and 12, I swing between wanting to be an interior designer, a psychologist, going to hospitality. And then finally, when I asked myself, what is it that I really want to do, and what is it that I want to achieve in life? I started thinking back to my childhood, where I was always fascinated by stories about inventions. I read, my mom always bought me books about, you know, people like Thomas Alva Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, and then I've always been fascinated by science, and I felt more connection with science, where I feel like itu in Indo it's like ilmu pasti, so it's like things that are tangible, that I can see, and it's real kind of thing. I can actually see it, and I can see how I can influence it and how it can affect the world. So that kind of makes me choose in my DP years, taking maths, HL, physics, HL, chemistry. That is kind of the main driver. And at that point, I didn't know yet what industry I would like to go to, and I think it's completely normal, because you will learn more. And I hope like sessions like this can help you get a bit of a flavor what options there are in the world post uni, and I guess post school as well. But really think about what you want to do. Really think about get a lot of advice, speak to a lot of people, go to LinkedIn, try to find maybe BINUS alumni on LinkedIn, and then if you are interested in a certain career, then don't be afraid, or don't be shy to just reach out. And people love to talk about what they do, which is what I'm doing this morning. And yeah, just reach out. So after kind of school, I was lucky enough I can go to the UK. I guess the reason why I wanted to go to the UK is IB is widely accepted in the UK. The bachelor's degree in the UK is 3 years, and I think it's 4 years if you go to Australia or the US or in Indo as well. I've always wanted to study abroad. I want to test that I can be independent. That was the main reasons, and I was lucky that my parents were supportive then for me to study engineering in Manchester. This is another kind of decision point. Once you decide roughly what you want to do, start to kind of narrow it down. So I remembered when I was in grade 11 and grade 12, I used to go a lot to like different embassies in Jakarta and just show up there and then ask them, do you have any university prospectus? Do you have any brochures about the available scholarships that you have? Do you have any brochures about life in that country? So I went to, I think, Japan, embassy, US, Canada, UK as well, China as well. So just trying to get as much flavor and as much kind of like information. I think nowadays, thinking back about it, I could have used internet easily, but I thought it's nice to go there and get a feel about it and by speaking to people. So that's what I did. And why mechanical engineering? By the way, if you have any question, there's like a function in Menti that you can ask me any questions, or feel free to come mute anytime. So if I go next. Yeah, so anytime you ask a question, it should show here on my Menti slide. So mechanical engineering, the reason why I went to that, I remembered speaking to an engineer. It was actually one of the places I visited and to get advice. So there was one center where they help match you to what you want to do, and I just went there and then asked for advice. And then the guy I was speaking to was actually an engineer, and then he asked me, what is it that you want to do? And then I was very clear on like I really want to do work that will be relevant in the next decade, next 40, 50 years, that will see me to the career that actually will have a positive impact to society. And then the reason the answer I got from him is go do something with food or energy, because that is something that impacts people, right? Everyone in the world needs food and needs energy, and we need them to be more and more sustainable. So that got me thinking, that got me kind of researching more on the internet, read more books about it. And then I thought, right, I can't decide now, and I'm not going to push myself to decide now. I'm going to pick something more general. So mechanical engineering, which I thought can be applied to a lot of stuff, your car, plane, energy, mobility, all this important stuff to improve quality of life. And once I decided mechanical engineering, I started researching the uni. I've decided first the country and then the uni. I couldn't afford going to the London University, so I didn't bother applying to Imperial College or UCL. I couldn't afford at that time to apply to the Oxbridge universities, which tend to be more expensive. So I thought, okay, if I cancel this out, even though my dream is to study in Oxbridge, I thought, right, I'm gonna apply for something me and my family can kind of are comfortable with. I want to be close to the industry, and Manchester is actually my top choice because they have really strong links to the industry. They do a lot of internships. They promote a lot of kind of industrial experience. So I thought, right, okay. And they have like, I think 26 Nobel laureates or something. And I don't know, things like that makes me quite excited. So I thought, okay, right, I'm going to apply for it. And I did get in. Thank you, Miss Malord. Yeah, so, but the first day I went there on my own, so my parents didn't actually accompany me. We were I think economically we were quite comfortable, but we are also at the limit of being able to afford this commitment, to send me abroad. So I traveled on my own. That was the first time I was on my own in a flight, and that was the first time I actually traveled beyond Singapore. So I don't travel much. I didn't travel much when I was little. We as a family we normally go to Puncak or Bali or Singapore for holiday, but never beyond that. So it was scary for me, and I think when it dawned on me is when I first entered this room here on the left. That's my student accommodation, and I realized I don't have connection to the internet. I don't have my SIM card. I haven't, like, my phone has battery, but it has no signal, and obviously because I haven't like set it up for the UK. And that is when I felt truly alone, and I felt like, oh shoot, if something happened to me, then like I don't know how my family will know, you know, because yeah, it was just really scary. And I think back then my parents were not. I think WhatsApp you can't do video call yet back then, which is weird considering it's only 10 years ago. So if you want video call, you use Skype. It's a completely different story. But that was very scary for me. And then I started finding my way, and I realized how many things that I haven't done before because of the privilege of growing up in Jakarta. So I'm sure like most of the people in the call will have their parents at home, and then we will have mbak as well buat bantu-bantu, right? So there was a lot of first time for me. First time fitting my own bed sheet, which sounds like a simple thing, but it took me an hour because I was figuring out fitted sheet versus non-fitted sheet, and then what goes first. It was just surreal. And then you can see I wasn't very tidy. I was also under a lot of stress at uni. It was perhaps one of the stressful time in my life, because halfway through my uni, actually, my parents came around and say, "Look, we can't afford this anymore. We need to figure out what we need to do." So there's a lot of stress, and I think one misperception or misconception that my parents had was like there will be a lot of scholarships abroad, but no, it's very rare to get a kind of like a full covered scholarship abroad. So please bear that in mind if you do rely on that. I think if you are going to look for scholarships, the safe bet is to look for it whilst you are still in Indo. So nowadays there's things like LPDP. It's like a scholarship from the government. I think Fulbright, I'm not sure if that applies to Indo. So try to find scholarships before you go, because when you get there, all you can get are bursaries. So I rely on bursary on my final year of uni. I was planning to do a 4 years kind of integrated master degree, but I had to cut it short. So I was okay with, okay, as long as I get my bachelor's in place, I will try see what I can get. So I had to study quite a lot. I think my social life kind of declined from that on. I was studying to get the bursaries, and to get the bursaries, you have to consistently come up top in your uni year, and a lot of them have like quite scary kind of criteria. You have to get 90% average, or you have to be number one to get like these bursaries. And bursaries are not like a lump, so it's like £1,000, £2,000. So I rely on getting many of these like little bursaries to kind of top them up to kind of cover my costs and to finish my degree. So yeah, it was very stressful. You can see it kind of reflects in my room. I was just like, my focus was just to study. And don't be shy, and just do what you need to do to get through when you are faced with challenges like this. So for me, for example, my first year in the UK, I find the accent was quite difficult to follow at first. I think we're quite privileged to study in BINUS, that you use English to kind of understand the subject. So for me, what helped me was the technical terms that you use in physics or chemistry that already is registered in your head, and it helps you kind of pick it up when you go to uni. But the accents I found a bit tricky to follow, so I actually had to record my lectures and then come back home and then kind of re-listen to the lectures again and then take notes then. So things like that. Just be creative on what. And don't be shy. Like, people saw me recording, but they will understand because it's not our first language, and there's a lot of barriers to jump through to be able to compete with them, really. Yeah, you can see Indomie. I had a lot of Indomie in my first year because I was also figuring out how to cook. Again, I never really cook other than Indomie and eggs at home. So if you are planning to go abroad, or even if you're planning to go outside of Jakarta, so I know many of my friends who went on to study in Surabaya or in Bandung, try to learn the basics first. Don't do the same mistake as me, thinking that it'll be easy. The simple things are actually the tricky one. But yeah, I got through in the end, 3 years. And I think the most important thing then was you really need a strong support system, whether it's your friends, your family. I was really lucky to have a group of lecturers that were rallying behind my back as well. They actively promote me to get nominated for scholarships, for awards that can help me with my challenge. So that's another key kind of point here is don't be shy and don't be embarrassed if you're facing something like this. Just be open and be vulnerable and just share. It's okay to share what you're going through, even with people that I think in Indo, personally, I feel like the culture I grew up with is like, oh, don't like overshare and then just in Indo it's like jangan nyusahin orang, don't be a burden to other people. But it's not really that. I think as long as you share what your challenges are, and if you're brave enough and courageous enough to share what support you need, you will get it, because people are nice. I think generally people are nice and kind, and they just want to help. And that's exactly like, these are my strong kind of group of friends at uni, and they really supported me. I remembered bailing out on a couple of birthday parties because I just need to apply for scholarships, that sort of stuff. And they're always there. Greta here on the left side, that was me visiting her family home in Italy. But I remember the point where I was having cereal 3 days straight for lunch and dinner because I was so stressed with coursework and applying for bursaries. And she came around and she literally did my groceries for me and cooked for me and even give me some Italian recipes that I can do in 5 minutes. So it's like, these are the type of friends you really need in your life to support you through. There's also Indonesian networks, and that's if it's your first time going to the city that you're going, look out for Indonesian networks. You'll be surprised of the people you meet, and because everyone is in the same boat, they will come. It's nice. You have a feel of camaraderie, and then you can phone them up if you need someone to speak to in Indo, and I find that really helpful as well in my first year. So yeah, I graduated finally after a long ordeal. And then I was lucky enough. So this is why the title of this talk may seem a bit random, greed, faith, and sleep. So I hope the greed kind of comes out in the last 2 slides. Faith is, I think, personally, I think people, I need faith. I need faith to go through this ordeal, whether it's faith to God, faith to a certain religion, faith to the universe, and you need faith. I think looking back, it was quite tough because I think another misconception my parents had for the UK, and I also had that as well. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go study abroad, and I'm gonna try to find a job there after I graduate, because otherwise it's a bit of a shame, you go abroad and pay this a lot of money because it's expensive to go abroad, and then if you have to go back straight away. So for me, my intent was to at least stay there for a couple of years, stay in the UK for a couple of years to get experience before coming back to Indonesia. And it was really tough. I think people need to remember that these companies need to sponsor your visa after graduation. And when I was applying for jobs, I think, let's say if there's 100 companies I'm looking for jobs, maybe there's 5 or 10 companies that actually sponsor international students. So research this stuff before you go. Again, don't do the same mistake as me. I was really stressed to find jobs in the UK because the companies I was interested in. So for example, at that time, by the way, I'm speaking about when I graduated in 2014. So maybe the companies changed their stand then. But at that time, BP does not accept international students. Nestle, which is a big company, and I would have thought, big companies would support international students. No, they don't. ExxonMobil, and again, another big petrochemical company, they don't sponsor international students. So it was really difficult to find a gap that I can apply to. So I actually randomly come across a lady who was doing a presentation in my university, and they were from a drilling company called Simprug. I don't know if probably not come across unless you're in the industry. It's is one of the biggest kind of service contractors, and they do drilling, they do completion, they do all sorts for companies like Pertamina or Petronas. So I guess to fit them in the map is like Pertamina will go to them and say, hello, we have this oil field or gas field we would like to develop. Can you drill it? And then somebody will come in with their crew, and then they will drill it for them. They will propose to them, this is the tool you need to use. This is the cement you need to use. This is it's like a one package solution for companies like Petronas or Pertamina. So I've never heard of this company before. When I mentioned it to my mom, she thought it's a bad company because of the name, so I'm Bridget. but I showed up anyway to their kind of 3 days immersion session where you work shadow an engineer for 3 days, and I was absolutely in love with my experience there, and I thought, okay, this is great. But at that point, they couldn't offer me a job, but they offered me a year of industry, which means that I delay my graduation for a year, and then I do a 1 year kind of internship with them. So throughout that 1 year, I'm still being sponsored by my university visa. So I did that because I have nothing to lose at this end. I just went there and do a year, absolutely love my job, and at the end, they tend to only recruit master's graduates, but because I did that 1 year with them and they're happy with my work in that 1 year, they offered me a job, which I happily take that job. And I ended up spending 2.5 years with them working for Samji, and this is in England. It was more of a research role, research engineering role, where I was looking at new generation drilling tools. So if you think about these drilling tools, they need to survive. They have electronics. Basically, when you drill, you need to know where you're drilling, right? So if you imagine my phone as like a drilling tool, it has, you know how on your iPhone you have like some gyro that tells you the inclination and stuff. So it has similar kind of sensor in the tool, and it will record shocks, vibration, temperatures, pressures as well. So it's quite a clever electronic kind of board inside of a mechanical tool, and then it has to be able to steer. If you think about your iPhone, and it has to be in the oven up to 150 degrees Celsius, and then you dropped it from 20 kind of stories down, so it has to be able to withstand that sort of impact. That is what the drilling tool has to sustain, and it can drill up to like 6 to 8 kilometer kind of deep in the well. So, and it has to be very clever as well, because it needs to communicate this information up to surface by hydraulics. But anyway, I will not go and bore you with the details, but it was such a lovely kind of experience I had. Unfortunately, in the oil and gas industry, we go through cyclical it's like a cycle where we have upturns and downturns, and I joined just before the last downturn where the oil price crashed, and then they had a lot of redundancy, and at that point I was really worried because, again, never take the permission to stay abroad by the government for granted, because at that point I was sponsored by this company, and if I lose my job with this company, I only have a month to pack and go back to Indonesia, and at this point I don't have any plan B. So at that point I couldn't risk waiting to hear whether I will be able to keep my job or not. So I started applying for like different other companies. So I think at that point I found Siemens sponsored international student, the company I'm with now, Shell sponsored international student. I also applied for a couple of nuclear industry companies. So I think the key there is to understand, if you want to go abroad and if your intention is to work abroad, think about what skills do they need. Because a lot of my friends who studied, let's say, business management, there is a lot of kind of graduates already in the country from Europe or from UK that has the skill. So they don't need it. They don't need to fill the gaps with international students. But things like nuclear, it's very rare to find people with that skill. So when they are more likely to take on international graduates. So energy is another one. The petrochemical industry is another one that they're really looking for skills right now. I think the latest trend is probably data scientist or data engineer as well. That's another kind of important one. Software, computer science, that sort of, the theme. they need more people like that in the UK. But anyway, so a lot of lovely memories in Sambriji. I was actually sent to Siberia to help deliver a training for a week in the middle of nowhere. So that's the plane that I had to fly on from Moscow to the little town in Siberia. It's called Uskut. I never even know on the map where it is. When I looked it up, if I draw a vertical line from Uskut, actually brings me to Jakarta. So it just makes me feel like, oh, Russia is so big. But anyway, I was there for a week. That is the airport that I arrived on. It was scary. In the plane, it smells like diesel all the time. But again, this is where faith comes in. It's like, everything happens for a reason, and just accept, I'm here for a reason, and take any challenges as like an opportunity to learn, and just think that, okay, I'm facing this challenge right now, but when I look back, I hope it will make sense. That is the sort of faith I'm talking about. For me, I grew up Christian. My dad's actually Buddhist, my mom's Catholic, but my grandma, my grandma raised me when I was little, she is a Christian Protestant. So I pray to Jesus, and I think this experience bring me really close to God, and I think it's just the humility to know that I can do what I can as a human, but at the end of the day, it's things, I hope, I pray things have been planned out for me, and even if that means me going back to Indonesia, I'm totally in peace with that. So as long as you're in peace with what is the worst case scenario that can happen, I think you'll find strength in yourself. So I actually remember Miss Monica gave me a Bible before I graduated, and I still keep that, Miss. So thank you so much for that. I have a lot of highlighters in there. Anyway, so why oil and gas industry? So I'm still in the oil and gas industry. Hi, Miss. Apa kabar?
I love you. I still remember, guys, if I can just interrupt you a minute. Angie is the first student who put her handphone on my table. And she always said, Miss, please help, because I cannot concentrate if I don't put my handphone on your table. It's really so touching, because I know as a young people, you love to play handphone, but you have shown so mature. Oh, my dear. Yes, Angie, you and Abraham.
Yeah, I'll pass that on to Abi.
Okay.
Thanks, Miss. Yeah, so that's nice. Jadi, where was I? So I think why was I attracted to oil and gas? I think we're rebranding ourselves as energy industry now, because we're moving more into the new energies and more sustainable energies. But it's the people. I think it's very multicultural, multinational. So you see that's my team back in Sambriji, and I think in one department we had people from 26 different nationalities. So I love that. I love the different culture that I get to learn and know. The opportunities to travel, not anymore now with the oil downturn, and especially with COVID, we can't travel anymore, but you used to be able to send out to random places, and I love that challenge. And the people tend to be more kind of risk taker as well, which I enjoy. And above all, I think when I was growing up in Jakarta, I remember more like pas SD when I was in elementary school. I remember blackouts in my family home, and I was thinking, oh, it's so annoying. And I think recognizing that in the world, maybe not so much in Indonesia now. I think we have quite a good electricity access for people, but there are still people in developing countries who don't have access to electricity and to reliable energy and to internet as well. And we know that internet is the key to knowledge, right? So that is kind of like my main driver of going into this industry, thinking that hopefully the things that I do in my day-to-day role can help a little bit to the society. So I made the move to this company that I was kind of hiding in these photos, because I'm not allowed to widely share this. So but I moved to one of the major oil operator in the UK North Sea. I work offshore for 3.5 years when I first joined. Is it scary? Yes, absolutely. Again, as I said, actually the first platform I went to work, there was only one female, and it was me. And everyone else, including the cleaners, cooks, chefs, everyone was like male. So I was the only female, and I could count with one hand of how many kind of Asian-looking people out there. So it was quite an interesting experience for me. And how is it like working offshore? I guess you work in rotation, so you go on the rig for 3 weeks at a time, 4 weeks in some places, 2 weeks in some places. But you stay there for I stayed there for 3 weeks, and then at the end of the trip, you get 3 weeks back, so 3 weeks off. But as a trainee, then I had to do a lot of trainings in my time off. Is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. It really pushed me to challenge myself, to really speak up. I think, again, another trait I have as an Indonesian, Chinese Indonesian as well, is like, jangan terlalu kayak out there. That's kind of something that I grew up with. It's like, try to just keep your head down and do work, and don't be too confrontational. That is the values that I grew up with. Don't be too needy, or don't be too outspoken out there. I think I struggled with that at first, because I felt like, oh, I'm the youngest probably on the rig. I was the only one who looks like I'm not from the UK or the Europe. English was also my second language, right? So there's a lot of barriers before I can truly speak up and share my ideas. And actually, as an operator, I had to lead meetings as well. I have to supervise some operations as well. So that photo there on the left, I always find it funny. We were pulling some tubulars from the ground, and they're like radioactive, and I had to kind of take the lead in checking these pipes for radioactive levels. And that's the suit that I have to take. I have to wear. But it's really fun, and it's really cool because you get to see work with different cultures. So this is me on a Norwegian rig, for example. It's completely different mentality and completely different approach to work to the rigs in the UK in general. So it is like the learning that differences. And this is in one of my last projects offshore. And this is the suit that you have to wear before you go on the helicopter, in case the helicopter fall into the sea, and then you don't want to die of hypothermia, I guess. So that suit will keep you kind of dry until you get rescued. So there's a lot of trainings you need to do to go offshore, and I really enjoyed that. I think as a kid, I really enjoyed watching spy movies, and this is the closest thing I can get to it. To go on the chopper for the first time, or at all, you have to do like a survival training. For example, they put you in a helicopter frame in a deep swimming pool, and then they dip the helicopter. You have to stay like inside of the helicopter, and then you have to release yourself from your seatbelt, break the window, and then swim out of the helicopter. And you have to do that 6 times. 3 times of that, they actually flip the helicopter around, so you are upside down, you are still buckled in, and then you have to like release yourself and then try to swim. And then they teach you how to escape from a smoky room. They teach you firefighting techniques, that sort of stuff. So it was really fun, and I think it really builds my confidence as a person. I think I shared with Mickey before when we were planning for this call. I'm quite an introvert. I'm generally shy. I don't tend to speak up, and I think in meetings I had a couple of feedback where they say, Angie, you're very silent, you're very quiet, like why don't you speak up, kind of thing. But I'm just generally very like an introvert. So that 3.5 years really empowers me, and it really makes me feel like, if I can do this, I can really do anything, kind of. So yes, I think the different experience you get, whether it's a university, in school, or in your career, even though when it's difficult, again, think back, it must be there for a reason, and take it as an opportunity to learn. And yeah. This is the last slide I have before we go into Q&A. I think the toughest thing about being abroad is not being close to family and friends. And again, I'm very blessed to have my family who are super, super supportive of me. I can just phone my mom up anytime, and she would always answer, my dad as well. Yeah, and I think my friends, again, I'm really bad at keeping in touch, actually, which is something I would like to improve. But this group of friends, every time I go back to Indo, they would always make an effort to kind of pull a get together, and it's just lovely. I just felt like I never left, so it feels like I have a parallel life here in the UK and in Jakarta. I've been in the UK, by the way, for 10 years since I left in 2011, and yeah, I always look forward to the next time I'm home. And it's just sad now with COVID-19 that I've not been home since last February. I was lucky enough to go home for Sincha, for Chinese New Year last February, and then since then it's just been COVID. So I think another kind of achievement, my personal achievement, was to be able to be financially independent from my parents, from my family. So as soon as I graduated and I had my first internship, I said, look, like I don't want to burden my parents anymore. So that's one thing that I would like to challenge you. Sometimes the biggest achievement you had in life is not the award you get, but it's lovely that I've been nominated Young Professional of the Year by Society of Petroleum Engineers in the UK. But I think what I'm more proud of is to be able to say to my parents, you don't have to worry about me anymore. I can look after myself. And I think another milestone of that is when they visited me 2 years ago in my apartment in Aberdeen that I, afford with my own kind of hard work. So to be able to host them, that was a lovely feeling for me. That was perhaps one of my biggest achievements since leaving home. So yeah, that's all I have to share. I hope it's not too much talking from my end, and I really want to hear any questions from you. Oh. Cool. I see already a couple of questions. I can start taking questions, and also feel free to come off mute, by the way. I do have to leave in 10 minutes time, so I'll make this kind of Q&A quick. First question here, was it hard to make friends in uni? Yes, it was, but I feel like the main reason why it was difficult for me is my lack of confidence. My friends tend to be, I don't know why, but my friends tend to be Europeans instead of like British people. It's a bit weird, but I think in uni, because Europeans were also there and English is also not their first language, and I feel like I connect more because they're also away from home. I think the people I'm in my course that are from the UK, they have their own circle of friends already. I think they all have kind of similar interests. They like to go to the pub and stuff, but my European friends are more interested in food, so I connect better with them. So it was hard at in the start, but I think a lot of it is because of me lacking confidence to reach out to people. But I find it more and more easy now, especially when I started working here and starting to build more confidence to make friends. But yeah, my advice, if you're looking for one, is be active in things like societies, and then be open to like invite them over for a meal, or if they invite you over, just show up and and do that way. I think the lady I was mentioning earlier, Greta, we actually met in one of the guided tours arranged by our university to one of the art gallery, and then we met there. That was my first week in Manchester, and we've been friends since. So be open to new experience and find people that way. What's the one thing in life you regret the most? Really good question. It's funny because I covered this. So by the way, I will type here. Me and my good friend, she works in Mutia, she works in Netherlands. We started a podcast in December to share a bit about our experience living and working abroad. And it's in Spotify if you want to have a listen and have a nosy. And we're also on Instagram. So I'm gonna shamelessly promote my little project there for anyone who's interested. But this is one of the things that I discussed with her. I think it was when I was at school. I felt like I distanced myself from my family. I felt like, my dad always is very disciplined about making Sunday a family day, for example, and I was really annoyed because I want to hang out with my friends. And then I find that more and more in my middle especially in my high school, that I rarely spend any time at home with my family. And I miss that phase when my little brother was growing up. I was always outside with my friends. I mean, at the end of the day, I have like really strong network of friends in Jakarta, and that's one thing that I'm very grateful of. But I think I could have made that balance a little bit better in terms of spending time with my parents, with my grandma, with my siblings, and then spending time with my friends. I think my balance was very much skewed to spending time with friends, and I regret that. I wish I was home more to spend time with my grandma and my siblings when I was in school. So that's fun. And also not taking Mandarin lessons seriously in school. I still regret that. I want to pick it up again now, but it's a bit trickier. What was your advice for students who are confused or have no idea on what to do in life, not even sure on what we like to do? My advice would be so there's the spectrum of this. You may not have any idea of what you would like to do, but equally, I think in my scenario, I enjoy a lot of things that I couldn't choose one. So think about what makes you happy, whether it's painting. I saw someone put like dancing and singing and teaching earlier. So think about what truly makes you feel fulfilled, what truly makes you happy. Think about the time when you read something in the news and then it really resonates with you. It really makes you feel either uncomfortable or it makes you feel sad or upset. Think about those kind of issues in the society that you felt like, God, I can't stand this. I really want to do something about this. And then think about what you can do then. I think I would say one thing I learned being here and being married to someone who's from Europe, my husband's part Greek, part Romanian. It's very different values. I think in Indonesia, we're very much driven by achievements, by how much money you can make. I remembered having Miss Monica mentioned Abraham there. I remembered Abraham asking people in our physics, was it physics or chemistry course? Like, oh, okay, let's have a bet who's gonna have a helicopter first. I was like, now thinking back, it sounds like a silly question. Why would you need a helicopter? But anyway, so think about what drives you, what motivates you, and work on that. And if you're still not sure, then expand, like expose yourself to many more things. Like read different type of books you don't normally pick up. So for example, when I was confused, I pick up a book about economics and I was really bored. So that makes sure that, okay, I don't want to do economics. Yeah, if you can't choose, start with elimination. So think about things that you can't imagine yourself doing and start eliminating it that way, and then you'll end up with something, hopefully. If you're still confused, just email me and then we can have a one-to-one chat if you want. Since it's the pandemic, how do you do your work now? So at the start of the pandemic, I was still going offshore. That was really scary because at that point, there's no vaccination. Testing was not widely used yet. So people still go to work because we're considered key workers, right? But now I'm in an office role for the last 8 months, and I've been working from home since. So this is my guest room, and I have my work set up here. I think people in the UK still being instructed to work from home if they could, and I think with the internet and it's really fun. And people actually worked from Italy and France, and someone I know went back to Australia and worked from there using UK time zone. This is quite interesting. Have you ever felt like giving up in uni? Yes and no. I felt like if I give up, then what's the point? You know, like if I give up, then I lose. So at that point, when you have like, you feel like, okay, be clear about what the worst case is. Okay, the worst case is I'm not gonna get a degree. I'm gonna go back to Indo. What does that mean? And then start playing that out in your head. And then when you are, if that's the worst case scenario and you feel like you can accept it, then just give it all you get. I think that's my approach to it is when I feel like giving up, think about also how far you've gone. So I've spent, my parents sacrificed a lot for me to go to uni. Will I want to give that up? No. I've studied so much and I've got these awards and I've got these grades. Do I want to give it up? No. So the best thing you can do is just to chip away with it. Just do what you can at that point, and And I think for me, Miss Marilyn and Miss Monica probably remembered the breakup I had in high school when I was crying every day in school. But I think studying and working has always been my kind of getaway. So I think for me, by studying more, I actually distract myself from my challenge, which probably not too healthy, but it's my coping mechanism. But yeah, I have felt like that. But again, this is where faith is important. Talking to your family and friends are important. They will remind you why it matters to you, and why you should keep going. Do you think uni is worth it? Depends on what you want to do. Yeah, really depends on what you want to do. I think in a developing country like Indo, yes, you will need a degree, in my opinion, unless you go into startup or you go into design or you go into arts. If you want to do like a more specific technical work like engineering, you will definitely need a degree, I think. Except if you grow up in the UK, I think here they have a really good system where if you don't want to go to uni, you can do an apprenticeships. So you after school you go and work work in a company and they will come develop you. But we don't have that system in Indonesia yet, sadly. So yeah, it really depends on the field. So my sister actually, because we went through the same kind of family challenges when we were both at uni, she came back to Indonesia before finishing her degree, and she was studying design. But she's like, I'm super duper proud of her because she picked herself back up, and even without that uni degree, she's doing very well in what she does. So as long as you work really hard and you're clear what you want to do, then yeah, you can always find something. But again, be clear, because if you don't go to uni and you don't know what you want to do, then that's not helping anyone either. So I think that's all the question I have. I hope that answers all of your questions. I do have to go in a couple of minutes. I would like to kind of open the room to anyone with questions.
Is it okay if we take a quick picture all together?
Yeah.
So, and can everyone turn on the cameras, please? Can everyone turn on the camera so we can like take it's a very quick picture. All the teachers too. Akbar, Krishna, Zara, Safa, Laura, Aida, Janet, Sonia, camera. Okay, I'll take the quick picture. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much. And I'm gonna show the certificate as a token for appreciation. Okay,
that's cool. I didn't know I got a certificate.
I think the host disabled screen sharing. Dia, can you please make me host so I can share the certificate? Hold on. Okay. Can you do it, Nani? Okay. Okay, never mind. Nadia will share the screen for us since I don't know why I can't share my screen.
That's okay. If I don't get it by Friday, I'm gonna terrorize Nikki.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. It's lovely to connect with you all. And again, I will actually type in my email address there.
Okay.
If anyone wants to reach out and have a chat, then feel free. Hey, Miss Alma. Cool.
Hi,
Right.
Angie.
Thank
How are you?
Bye, Quiz.
Good. Wow. Enjoy, yeah? Stay in UK, yeah?
Yeah, masih di UK, yeah. Hopefully come home soon and then I can visit BINUS.
Oh, really? Because of the COVID, the pandemic, you cannot go home or what?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Yeah, because of COVID. Yeah, susah pulang at the moment. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
waiting for my vaccines and then hopefully I can go home.
Yeah, yeah. But I can see that you can adapt very well in UK, yeah? And you can
Amin.
very good. Bagus, Angie. That's good. Tapi kok tambah kurus? What happened?
Iya,
What
stres
happened?
kerja.
Huh?
Stres kerja terus
You're
belum
not
ke
that
gym lagi.
very skinny. Right now, you're very skinny. What happened?
I think
Yeah, the
Angie is
important
always
one is
slim.
you will become, you are healthy.
I think we
Yeah.
have to invite Angie again.
Thank you, Miss.
Angie, we're very proud of
Mhm.
you.
Thank you, Miss. That means a lot.
I still
But
remember
yeah,
when
thanks to you
Angie
guys.
visited us last time. Angie, did you remember when you visited us? I think 2 years or 3 years ago, when you said
Yeah.
about that you have to learn about the how much is the diameter of the one cylinder of the screw? Remember that?
Ah, yes, yeah. Oh, I've actually packed it away. I would have shown you a prototype of it.
Yeah, that's why I said, oh my God, you have to study in UK about this.
Oh, I can see the certificate now. Thank you, everyone. Much
So thank you
appreciated.
so much, Angie, for your inspirational talk and for your motivation and all that. And I really learned a lot from today. And yeah, with that being said, thank you very much for joining Science Fun Day today. And
Thank
hopefully-
you. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care, ya, Angie.
Thank you, Angie.
I hope we can invite you again.
Success, yeah, Angie.
All the best.
She's very busy, Miss Madeline. She already off.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so nice, yeah, her talk.
Yes.
Yes.
We
Of
can see that
achievement.
our alumni, they can develop themselves rigorously, yeah.
I
They're
tried,
humble.
Miss Alma.
Yeah. Congratulations for you. Yes. No, because Angie is one of your student, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she's very close with you because she loves to study physics. I
Yeah.
remember
Other with this.
Very interesting topic, Miss Monkey.
Really? Thank you.
Nanotechnology.
Yeah, thank you. It's quite fancy for us, for Indonesians, I would say.
Yes, that's right. It's actually physics and chemistry. Yeah.
Yes, sure. In the science, we cannot.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
boundary between physics and chemistry, I think.
And quality. And why does it matter? Because if you do not get enough rest, then it's basically like you're pushing your car, but it does not have any fuel. You're running on empty. Right, so you can push as much as you can, but if you don't get enough rest, then your metabolic pathway is not activated to run. your brain thinks that it needs rest, and so it goes on survival level. It goes on survival mode, and that is the same reason why you shouldn't be running on empty on a stomach as well. Like, do not exercise if you haven't had a meal. It doesn't mean that after a meal you start exercising. No, put an hour to 2 hours distance or time before starting to exercise after a meal. So for instance, if you have breakfast at 7, then you start exercising at 9 a.m. So if you start exercising at 6 p.m., then you need to stop eating at 5 p.m., for instance, right? But you need to get some energy, because again, exercising when you're lack of sleep, even if you're used to it, that means you're just used to running on empty. That just means you're just surviving. Your body is coping and it can cope just so much, right? It will break at one point. So at one point it's gonna say enough is enough. I need to sleep, and then you used to it. You still need to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day.